disadvantage. I'm sitting next to my girlfriend Teddy, and I have to be real careful about what I say about Chuck. It is really my honor and privilege to introduce our 2013 Aggie Lawyer of the Year. I'd like for you to stand where everybody can recognize you. They did limit me, and I understand they cut you off when they and that last one was really short. You know, for starters, Chuck is an excellent lawyer, and initially started his legal career by serving in the Judge Advocate General School. After he got out in '83, he came to Bryan College Station. I never know where the dividing line is. Well, I know where it is now because we're right on it, Marvin, But and he's been practicing here since 1983. He happens to be my personal lawyer. I built a home here about 4.5 years ago, and I needed somebody smarter than me in real estate and all the contracts and all these silly forms they put before you. And so I thought I was hiring Chuck. It didn't quite work out that way because he wouldn't let me pay him anything. Now that's wonderful, but I don't expect y'all to do that.
That's a great lawyer. That's
Chuck really was immense help with me, for me. Our only problem was I had bought my lot from Arno Krebs. And that was the toughest part of the deal. And he said, "You're on your own dealing with Arno." So I'll let Arno speak in his own defense here in a second.
That's funny, I forgot it.
Chuck, as was mentioned, is an AV lawyer. And for those of you who are not lawyers in the crowd, your rating is based on the comments of other AV lawyers within an area. I can't tell you exactly what that is, but that is a rating that is really a selection by your peers, which is quite an honor to know this is what the other lawyers in the area think about you. Chuck hasn't really slowed down with his law practice, but he has filled many positions in Bryan and College Station, civic affairs, church affairs, and in service to A&M. I first met Chuck about 13 years ago when he and I had the privilege of serving on the Association Board of Directors together. Chuck, if you saw all the boards he served on, you'll know why he has been asked to be on so many of them. He was an ideal board member. You get in some of these big boards, and there are people that want to talk to hear themselves talk, and then there are people that talk when they have something to say. Chuck was in the latter, and when Chuck told us something, it was important, and we listened to him. He later became president of the association. And I can't tell you that year, 2003, 2004. Forward, thank you. I should have given you my cue cards. But I'd like to give you some of the other highlights of Chuck. Chuck is a graduate of Texas A&M. He had a BBA in finance, so hey, it's all right to be.
Thank you.
I have a business degree too. There was one difference in his graduation. He graduated with honors. I was just happy that I got out. He distinguished himself at Texas Tech Law School, and we've already talked about his JAG service. If any of you have questions about what's happening at Killeen with all the hoorah about the trial that's been pending and postponed and pending, Ask Chuck, he's an expert on military law, so he can answer those for you. After he started practicing law, he kind of stayed with it. He's been with the same firm. It's now his, when it's the Ellison firm, it's not just his, but he is the leader of that firm. And Chuck has been admitted to practice to the Supreme Court of Texas. He's been admitted to practice in the federal district courts, both in the southern and in the western district of Texas. For many years, he was a member of the College of the State Bar of Texas, and he's a life fellow of the Texas Bar Foundation. He has had extensive experience in the banking industry. My only question, he's been a director of at least 5 different banks in the area. He's currently a member of the board of the Bank and Trust of Bryan College Station. Now, I had the fun of serving on the bank board, but I lasted 28 years and I only worked for one, Chuck, so but there were the only ones I could fool. He is, besides being a member of this association, he's a member of the Brazos County Bar. He's an active member of the A&M United Methodist Church. He served many years as a director of the United Way, and probably in the least thankful job of any, because I had a partner that did this one year. He served as the United Way campaign chairman several years ago. And that's really kind of a thankless job, but shows his devotion. He has also served A&M University. He was a member of the A&M Core Development Council for 6 years. He was on the TAMU BCS Council for 10 years. And I'd mentioned his service to the Association of Former Students. He has been a member of the A&M University System Chancellor's Council since 2000. He's also a member of the George Bush School of Government and Public Service Development Council. And he is a co-founding trustee of the Brazos County Community Foundation and served as chair of that organization. I would like to think that maybe I helped him a tad there, because I talked to our president of the Abilene Community Foundation and visiting with their people to tell them what it took to have a successful community foundation. And from all reports I have, they've done an excellent job of following through on those recommendations. Chuck is married to his lovely bride, Teddy, and has 2 daughters, Kimberly, who is here tonight, and her husband, who's class of 2002. I forgot to mention Teddy's class of 1990. In fact, first time I ever met Teddy, she was speaking to the Abilene A&M Club on compliance. She was a compliance officer with the athletic department. And his other daughter is Courtney Harvell, class of 2005. And she and her husband were not able, they had some excuse like living in another state. And they were not able to be here tonight. At this point, I'd like to turn the introduction over to Arno, because he has had some rather unique experiences with Chuck and activities that they've been involved in together. Arno Krebs.
Fortunately, following Bob, I'm going to be brief. Bob was too, but I'm going to be even briefer. When you came in tonight, you saw the wall out there with the A&M core values, and I'm going to recite those because those, Chuck epitomizes the core values of A&M, because he's got them in spades. And they are loyalty, integrity, excellence, leadership, respect, and selfless service. And if any of you have had an opportunity to work with Chuck, you know he fits all 6 of those. I first heard of Chuck in 1993 when Teddy was a compliance officer at A&M before they were married. And Teddy and I were working on the A&M NCAA dust-up, in which they were after our football program. And Teddy and I were in Kansas City for a week. And Teddy and Chuck talked on the phone every day. A lot of times they talked several times a day. And so I says, Teddy, you need to marry that guy because you're more attached than most of my married friends are. They got married. And for those of us that I now, my wife and I moved to Bryan 6 or 7 years ago. And Chuck and Teddy are pillars of this community. And Bob mentioned the Community Foundation. Last year, Chuck and Teddy were honored as, I would say, Volunteers of the Year by the Community Foundation. They honor an individual or a couple every year, and Chuck and Teddy received that honor last year, and they certainly deserved it. And if you look at Chuck's CV, he's volunteered for every civic and charitable organization in town, and he's led most of them. I first really met Chuck when I was on the association board when he was president in 2004, which Bob's talked about. And he was an exemplary leader. I served with 4 other presidents, and Chuck may not have been the best, but he certainly was one of the best, and all 5 of those guys were great leaders. Later, Chuck and I had the opportunity to work with the A&M PAC. We were both trustees of that PAC. Chuck was the chair of the PAC, and we were able to create something under Chuck's leadership, which was helpful to the A&M system, and it was fun working with Chuck. He's a very intense guy to work with, but always going in the right direction. You know, in closing, we can be proud of our Aggie lawyer, Chuck, because he epitomizes what this profession, the best of this profession. And I'm proud to have him as a good friend, and he certainly is deserving of this honor.